Hello, my name is Ray Hughes, and I'm an interviewer for the Veterans History Project, conducted by the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., and locally administered here in Cincinnati, Ohio, by the Cincinnati Hamilton County Public Library, located at 9th and Main Streets in Cincinnati, and administered here by Brian Powers, who's not with us today. I'll be both the interviewer and the cameraman today. And today we have the honor and privilege of interviewing, and your first name again, sir?
Charles.
Charles J. Kneflin.
Kneflin, right.
And that's spelled K-N-E-F-L-I-N.
Right.
World War II veteran, a tail gunner on a B-29, is that correct?
That's correct.
And is it all right to call you Bud?
Sure, sure. Everybody else does.
But if you would, what was your date of birth?
December 6, 1923.
I see, the day before Pearl Harbor. Where were you born?
Cincinnati, Ohio. Been in the city all my life.
Do you remember your address when you were, where you were born?
Carl Street in North Fairmount, but I don't know the exact address.
And your parents' names?
My dad was Charles J. Kneflin, Joseph Kneflin, and my mother was Marie M. Gilligan, Gilligan. Excuse me.
And do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one sister, 18 months older than I. Her name was Jean. She ultimately married to a Bob Hater, H-A-T-E-R.
I see. And your father, what did he do for a living?
My dad, initially for most of his life, was a wood pattern maker at Lunkenheimer Company. Subsequently left there in his 60s and ended up with the aluminum industries, which was owned by my brother-in-law, Bob.
Bob's last name?
Hater.
Oh, Hater. I see. He owned an aluminum business?
I'm sorry. His dad, Harry Hater, owned it. Yes.
What did they produce?
Aluminum brake industry, or aluminum brake pistons for the automotive industry.
I see. Where were they located at?
On, I can't think of the street that runs alongside of Lunkenheimer's.
Where was Lunkenheimer at?
In North Fairmount.
Was that over on Queen City? And,
right, exactly.
Queen City and Tremont Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there, and occupied about a half a block there or more. Yeah, interesting. What schools did you go to as a child and growing up?
Went to first grade at St. Leo in North Fairmount. Second through the 7th grade in Resurrection Grade School, and the 8th grade at St. Teresa. We had moved several different times. From there I went to Elder, graduated from Elder in 1941, started at Xavier in September of 41, and several months later World War II broke out when the Japs bombed Pearl Harbor.
Do you remember where you were at when you heard about Pearl Harbor and what you were doing?
I was at home on a Sunday afternoon, I think an early afternoon. Quite frankly, I had no idea where Pearl Harbor was.
Well, you joined a big club then.
Yeah.
What, do you recall what your reaction was after you heard that? You and your father and mother?
I don't think I really felt the enormity of what the situation was. Okay, they bombed Pearl Harbor, and we'll go back, and had no idea that we were in for a 4 or 5 year war, not only with Japan but also with Germany. So the immaturity at that time. I was a freshman in college.
Right. I forgot to ask you what church you and your parents went to as a boy growing up.
In Fairmount, I went to St. Leo's Church, Roman Catholic Church. From there we switched to Resurrection in Price Hill. And when we moved to Covedale, which was brand new, I transferred to St. Teresa.
What address did you live on in Covedale? Remember that?
I think, I'm not certain if this number is correct, but I think it was 5168 Ralph Avenue, Cincinnati 38, Ohio. Then from there we moved several times.
So, after Pearl Harbor, did you continue going to Xavier University?
Yes. I started the second year.
In September of '42, I guess.
Well, when I started there in September of '41, right before the war started, all I had in mind was I wanted to fly an airplane. Oh. I wanted to fly one, and particularly a fighter plane. And I couldn't get anybody interested to go with me. And in 1942, around May, I guess it was, I talked 4 other friends of mine to go to Dayton, to the Air Force up there, and incidentally made myself a very, how do I want to say this, not too liked by the mothers of the 4 kids I talked into going with me. Their argument was, and my dad's, although I think my dad was a little bit different, my dad had served in World War I, and the thinking was, hey, you're already in the reserves in ROTC at Xavier University. Sit back, you'll get called in, but I wanted to go in, so I believe it was around May of '42. We drove up there one day and took the mental exam. We all passed. The following week we came back for the physical, and out of the 5, I was the only one that failed.
You failed the physical?
I failed the physical. I don't mean this as any bragging, but I was by far the best athlete in the group. And I was heartbroken. The requirements of the Air Force at that time for eyesight was 20/20.
Right.
And it was not correctable or anything, 20/20. And I went up. That summer, I worked at Lunkenheimer Company, where my dad did, to earn tuition for Xavier the following year. And I would stand there and packing valves for the company, and I'd be looking at a calendar with my hands over my eyes, trying to read a calendar, and all through the summer, never could pass. I guess if I wanted to cheat, but I wasn't going to do that, and I never could get in. So
it's interesting you say that because Lieutenant Colonel Dick Cole, who was General Doolittle's co-pilot on the Doolittle raid.
oh my gosh, yeah.
He was refused entry also because he failed his physical because he had a chip in his front tooth. Now that's how restrictive they were to begin with. It changed later.
Oh, they did, yeah. They wanted everybody in later on, but I was fidgety. The last place I wanted to be was in school, and started the second year, and so I finally made up my mind. I talked to my mom and dad. I said, I got to get in service. I can't sit here. And the other kids didn't want. They stayed at Xavier. And so I told my mom and dad I wanted to, I don't know why this, I wanted to get in the Marines. So I went down to a Marine recruiting office, and I talked to the man and told him the whole story, and he said, hey, you would have no trouble with us with that type of physical, but I can't take you. And I said, what do you mean you can't take me? You're already in the Army. I was in the Army Reserve, in the ROTC, yeah. And I said, well, is there any way I could get in? And he said, well, the guy was square with me. He said, you could write a letter, tell them that you're quitting school and that you were going to join the Marines. He said, but I'll be honest with you, why would they let you go to us? So they're probably going to take you when you send that letter to them. So he gave me, so I sent the letter in it was a little over a week. I had an invitation to go to Fort Hays in Columbus to join the Army. So I got in the Army.
You remember that date roughly that you joined?
I have it in here. If
it was, just give me the general time. It was
February of '43.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you went to Fort Hays in Columbus, Ohio.
And
you got sworn in there.
From there, I was sent to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I had a year and a half of field artillery in ROTC at Xavier, so it was natural that I was going down there. I finished my basic training. I qualified for OCS when we came into the place, and
that was Officers Candidate School.
Candidate School, yes. Right. And about 2 weeks, it was 13 weeks as I recall, about 2 weeks before we were to graduate, they shut down OCS. They brought in all of the seniors in ROTC from all of the colleges around the country. And of course Fort Sill was the largest field artillery unit in the country. And so I was out a lot alongside of all the other guys that had qualified. And
so you had all that time in training in OCS, and then you were
had a year and a half, and also the 13 weeks of basic training. Right. But then they started a new program before I got finished, and they called it. Gee, I got all this in there. If I could.
Was that the college program?
Yeah.
Where they sent you to college?
ASTP.
ASTP.
Army Specialized Training Program.
That's correct.
And I was sent to Oklahoma A&M.
Where's that at?
In Stillwater,
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, I think that is, yeah. And anyway, I was there about a month, I guess, along with the other guys that had come with me. And then we were transferred to, all of us different, but I went with a contingent of men to Lafayette College in Pennsylvania. Let's see, Lafayette College. That doesn't sound right.
Indiana, wasn't it?
No,
Pennsylvania?
No, Pennsylvania. Eastern Pennsylvania.
Okay, yeah.
And I was just down. I mean, you know, here a couple months before I quit college to go in, and here I was right back in college again. And so, winter students, I roomed with a Turkish boy from the Bronx and played on I was the third baseman on the baseball team, and strictly college life. And everything went along great. Do you want me to rattle on like that?
Oh, yes, yeah.
And the school every day, around Christmas time, he was from my friend, my roommate was from the Bronx, and he invited me to spend Christmas at his home it was an apartment building, and when I came back, there was, I'm sorry, I did not mention this. Also at the college was a contingent of Air Force. Part Air Force to the kids that when you started into the Air Force program, you went back to college for a while and then into the various programs and so forth. And so we had, our man in charge was a captain who had returned from Europe, had already been in action, had been wounded, and I don't know why, but he had no feelings at all for the Air Force. He hated their guts. And we used to play sports against him, baseball and basketball, and he just didn't care for them. Anyway, I got back from New York, and posted on the wall was the fact that the Air Force had changed the requirements for pilot training from 2020 to 2030 correctable to 20. I could do that. And so, man, right away I started checking around, and pretty soon I found out that about 80 miles from eastern Pennsylvania was Allentown, Pennsylvania, and that they had a recruiting office there. So, boy, I don't know why I did this, but I skipped school, and I flagged a ride up to Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Hitchhiker ride.
And hitchhiker ride, and I went in the office and talked to the guy. He said, I had all my stuff with me that I showed him what I had passed the mental. He said, you won't have to take any of that over again. Physical, if you could make 2030 correctable, no problem with us. He said, but you got a bigger problem than that. Every time I went someplace, I had a bigger problem. And I said, what? He said, you're in the Army. You're in the artillery, field artillery. And he said, the only way that you could get over to the Air Force, to us, is if the captain, your captain will give you permission. I said, oh man, I said, I'm not going to get any permission from him. And he said, you have to get that or you can't go. So I didn't have enough money to come back on a bus, so I either flagged home or flagged up. And next morning I got up and I went in and asked if I could have an appointment with the officer in charge, and oh boy, he was waiting for me. They gave me the appointment, and I arrived here, and I gave him my story, that how long I'd been trying to get into the Air Force, and now I had a chance, but I needed his permission. He sat there like that. He didn't even look at me. He said, "Where were you yesterday?" Didn't even acknowledge what I had said to him. And I said, well, I thought there was no sense in lying. I mean, you know, he's not dumb. I told him that I had taken off. I said I probably should have asked first, but I knew if I asked, he'd never let me go. But anyway, he said, I'll think about it. 2 days, I got my answer. No. Wouldn't give me permission.
Oh my goodness.
And, oh, I was heartbroken. I didn't know what to do. Oh, I didn't have to make any decisions. In about 2 weeks, he shipped me out. He shipped me to Fort Bragg, which was the other big field artillery unit in North Carolina.
Right.
And, oh man, next thing I know, I'll tell you one thing, I caused a riot at Lafayette College. Everybody wanted to know, why was I being sent out? You know, they thought they were going to get taken into the Army and so forth. But anyway, from there I went to Fort Bragg. I don't recall how long I was at Fort Bragg, but I was sent out.
Did you do training at Fort Bragg?
Not a lot. I wasn't there that long.
You didn't do any jumps or anything?
Any what?
You were still in field artillery then?
Yeah, oh yeah. And I'm a long way from the Air Force. This could get awful long for you.
Don't worry about that.
But next thing I knew, I was shipped out with a whole bunch of people, and I found out we were going to Camp Shelby. Camp Shelby was a relatively new base in Mississippi, yeah. Shelby, Mississippi, and I was told that there was a big place for a new unit called the Combat Engineers, and I was told, I don't know how by many people, don't get in the Combat Engineers. You're the same as a infantryman, but you got a shovel along with a rifle and so forth. That's all I heard. And a lot of the guys said to me, you don't have to worry about that. My God, you got a year and a half in college, in ROTC, in field artillery. You got basic training. So we went down on the train, and the train stopped when we got to the base. And so I was not worrying at all. And these guys would get off here, and they kept getting off. I was still on the train, and finally he came to the field artillery. My name wasn't called. I was still on the train. The train stopped at Camp Shelby, and my name was, at Combat Engineers. So he got back at me.
He put you in the
He put me in the combat engineers, and brand new outfit, and there were even people there at that time, but boy, I tell you, the guy that was in charge of this new outfit was what a principal guy, just a real nice guy, and his lieutenant, same kind of guys, and he spoke to us. I don't remember how many of us got off. It was just the contingent of our cadre of people, and but anyway, he said when he was finished, if any of you have any questions, come to my office and I'll talk about it. So I went to his office and I told him, I said, sir, I've been trying to get into the Air Force, told him the whole story and everything, and he said, bring your, and I'll turn him in. So I said, no questions about it or anything, and I think I was the only guy that had any kind of schooling. They all came out of the hills eventually, and he made me his Jeep driver. Oh, what a nice job. Eventually we would go on 25-mile hikes. They would all go out for their 25-mile hike. I would stay back in the barracks with him and in his office. When they were out there after the 25 miles, then I would drive him out there, and I would sit in the Jeep. He would go in, check around, and stuff come back. Oh, it could be raining, snowing, no matter what it was doing, and I'd get back. Then the lovely part of it was I'd get back, and there was not enough hot water for everybody. I had the whole place to myself before the guys got back. They had to march 25 miles back. But anyway,
and you have all that to thank to that mean captain back there.
Boy, he kept his word. Eventually, they notified me that I would go for my exam for the Air Force. Same guy. He and I really got along. Nice guy, and so the morning that I went down.
Where'd you go to get your test?
Right on the base.
Oh, same base?
Yeah, the same
for
base.
The airport?
Yeah. No. Camp Shelby.
Yeah.
Right there. And so anyway, I went through everything and so forth, and came to the eyes, and I didn't have the 2020, 30 changed to 2020, fine and dandy, and I thought, oh my God, I finally got through. I get at the end of the line, and I'm all finished with everything, and one of the nurses said, Mr. Kneflin, would you wait here for a minute? So everybody leaves, and she said, we've got a bit of a problem with you. And I said, what's the matter now? I said, my eyes were open. It wasn't your eyes, your blood pressure. Oh man, I tell you, I could have cried. And she said, I can't, unless you get the blood pressure down, I can't okay you. And and so I told her the whole story, and she said, I think I know the answer. I think you were so built up. I said, I didn't sleep all last night worrying about this. And she said, you go home, you tell your captain, don't give you any duty the rest of the day. Take it easy, try to get a nap if you can, and so forth, and so forth. And I forget what time she told me to come in there, and oh, I was up all night. I couldn't sleep. Got there in the morning, and boy, I guess my blood pressure was just beating, you know. And she said, "This is crazy." She said, "This is you're just getting yourself all worked up." She said, "Here." She said, "Boy, nice gal. Here's my office. There's a cot in there. Go in there, see if you can fall asleep, take a nap." And she said, "We'll do it later on." And oh boy, she gave me every chance. And I fell asleep. I woke up and she was sitting on the bed with me. And she was just taking her stethoscope off. And she said, "You're fine." Oh, and maybe at that time I was.
Yes.
Oh boy, I could have kissed her, and I never had any trouble after that. I could have. Now she could have just have said, "I'm sorry, you don't make it. You know, go back to your," and I would have been in on the
D-Day.
The captain told us that's what they were getting him ready for, the invasion of France,
yeah,
and so forth. But anyway, from there, I'm afraid I'm taking too much of your...
Listen to me. This story is more important than an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours.
Okay. All right. I stayed there until eventually I had a big break. Maybe this is a little side thing, but again, you can take out what you don't want. I decided I wanted to go down to the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. That was, New Orleans was I think about 80 miles from the camp. And I got a friend of mine to go with me. And I said, "Let's stay in. We'll go in and stay." I think it was Friday night, and Saturday the football game was, and then we come back to the camp. And we were, I think we were still in, we were in New Orleans. We had already gotten down there, and we were in the USO. And lady came in. Oh, was she dressed? Boy, she really looked good. And she spoke to one of the ladies in charge, and the woman held up her hand and said, "Could I have your attention?" to everybody. And she said, "Mrs. So-and-so," I can't think of her name, is here. And she has 12 tickets to the Sugar Bowl football game, and she wants to give them to anybody that wants them. And oh boy, I said to him, let's grab a couple of those. So we went to the Sugar Bowl game. Boy, everything was fine. The only thing we didn't think about is where we were going to stay that night after we went to the Sugar Bowl game. It was Saturday. The place was crowded, and we went to every hotel. I'm sorry, soldier. We just don't have any room, and so I didn't know what to do, and so we were standing near a taxi cab stand, and I said to the taxi cab driver, I told him he knew we were out of town, uniforms on, and I said, "Would you have any idea where we could stay?" I said, "We can't find a place to stay, and we're away from our camp." And he said, "Boy, it's a tough night to try to get a room." And he said, get in the cab. And he said, I'm going to take you out to, I can't think of the name of that hospital. It was a brand new hospital. It was a Catholic hospital run by nuns. And he said, go in there. Maybe they could find a room for you. So the two of us got out, didn't charge us anything for the ride and so forth. And went in and talked to the head nun, told her what we're up against, gave us each a private room. Boy, oh boy, I tell you, no charge, wouldn't take a charge, and so forth. So anyway, not too long after that, I believe it was in February, I was told I would be transferred by God. I thought I was going to heaven, Miami Beach, Florida. Jesus Christ, I had never been to a place like Miami Beach in my life. And so I can remember pulling in there in the train, and we pulled into Miami. And I looked at Miami itself, I didn't realize there was a beach and so forth. And, I thought, boy, what are they raving about this place for? And then we got off the train, and we got on a bus, and then went across the levee over to the beach. Oh, I thought I went to heaven. We stayed in we were put in a hotel on the 7th floor, right on the beach. Right across the street was the beach. Oh man, living like a king.
Now, are you in the Air Force there?
Not yet.
Okay.
When I got down there, then they
Go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, but yes, then they swore us into the Air Force, switched us over and so forth, and we're all set for to go into training, and I guess yes, while I was still there, I'll throw these side things in if you don't mind. I was walking up, I think it's Collins Avenue, that's right on the first street on Miami, as I recall, and I looked in and they had a boxing ring, and guys were sparring, and so I got nosy and I went in, and so I was standing there. I wasn't staying there very long, and the sergeant in charge said, did you want something? And I said, no, I guess I just was nosy. And he said, did you ever box? And I said, no, not really. I said, I had a pair of gloves, but I said, I don't know a lot about boxing. You want to try it with this guy? And I said, yeah. And so we, I wasn't completely dumb. And he said, would you like to join the boxing team? And I thought, what the heck should I join the boxing team for and get patted around, And he said, it's got some compensation with it. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I think I reported here like about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know if it was 10 to noon or whatever it was. That was it. That meant no marching for me or nothing. Boy, I thought, oh, I got to do this, and so forth. Well, that went along for a couple of weeks or more, and I came in there one day, and he said to me, you're going to be on Monday night. I said, what do you mean I'm going to be on? He said, well, we do this. We have boxing on Monday nights I believe this is correct, Flamingo Gardens. This is where Bob Hope and all those, they used to appear on different nights. Mm-hmm. And boxing was on Monday night. And I said, gee, I didn't expect to go box out. And he said, you'll be all right. He said, I see how you do. We're not going to pair you up with somebody. So anyway, I boxed that Monday night. It ended up, they said he won the first round. I put him down in the second round, but I was so excited in putting him down, the guy, my second was an older man. Get him, go in, you know, and anyway, it ended up in a draw and so forth. So, but I don't really know. I don't think we were down there more than maybe a month to 6 weeks. I got a fatal announcement. They were closing Air Cadet School. They had so many kids coming out of that they had put into college.
ATSB.
Yeah, and so I thought, oh, geez, I didn't want to go back to, but not just me, the guys with me, and they said, we can offer you, would you like to go to Gunnery School? And I said, you know, I guess we all said, well, what is it? The gunners on airplanes, I thought, gee, that would be good. It'd be flying anyway.
Your own flight status.
So there was one guy in particular, his name was Bud too, Bud Knowles, and I said, Bud, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna take it. I don't want to go back. And he said, I am too. So from there, we were sent to Gunnery School, Arlington, Texas, down the point of Texas, way down the bottom, where it curves down there. And I forget how long we went to. We started with BB guns in Gunnery School. We shot at. They had a thing up on the wall, and you were back further than this, and it was on a railroad track, and it had a little plane mounted up, and it would come down a track like this. Sometimes it would hide behind things, and you shot your BB gun. I shot every kind of gun possible, I think.
Tell us about it.
I think from BB guns, eventually we went into rifles, shotguns, trap, skeet, where they shoot the pellets out to you. We got on the back of trucks, went around circles, and they fired off, I can't think of the name of them.
We'll call them birdies. But
yeah, the round.
The round disc.
And you get the feeling of a plane moving and so forth, until we ended up with machine guns and so forth. Eventually I graduated, was sent to Lincoln, Nebraska, to be sent to a new place. And while I was in the barracks one day, waiting to be assigned, I hear, "Attention!" And of course we all jump up, and here comes an officer in, and my God, I look at the guy. He's my closest friend's older brother, Paul Stubbe.
Stubbe?
Ralph Stubbe. And he comes in and sits down on the bed with me, and we talk, and I had lost track of him. He was at Xavier, but he had left and gone to pilot school, and he was a pilot of a B-17, and he said, "Bud," they called me Neff in those days, "I'm leaving for the 8th Air Force in a couple of days. I got everybody I need. I need one more gunner. My mother wrote me that she had talked to your mom and that you were here, just happened to be, and if I would like to have you join my crew. And I said, Ralph, boy, I don't know what to do on that. My dad was born in France, came over when he was about 10, and I said, I had always thought that I would eventually be going over to the 8th Air Force in England, and that eventually if we were able to invade Europe, that I might get a chance to look up my dad's relatives and so forth. So anyway, we left it. Give me a.
Where was he going to be stationed at?
In England.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why were you reluctant to go there and be part of the 8th Air Force then?
Oh, I didn't give you. I told him also that I was interested in learning. That there was a good question. There was a big rumor going around that if we went to the west, we were going to go on the new B-29, and that's what got me.
Okay.
And boy, I didn't know what to do, and so I thought about it, and I finally thought, no, I'm gonna go with that. And then I got thinking about, gee, if I'm over in the Pacific, I'm not going to have snow and all that stuff, you know, and so forth. Anyway, I made the decision, and I called him and I said, Ralph, if you don't mind, I said, I'm going to stay with the fellow I went through Gunnery School with, and we're going to hope that we get on a B-29. And so he went. 6 months later, the whole crew went down. His whole crew. Yeah. And nobody escaped from the plane.
What was his last name?
Stuve. S-T-U-E-V-E. Let's see, Ralph.
Stuve.
His brother Paul, Paul's dead now. I don't know whether his brother was whether they crashed in Holland. I want to say Holland. He went to visit after the war, and it's over and so forth.
But his whole crew was killed.
Yeah, the whole crew.
Divine intervention.
Yeah, you're right. But anyway, we went to Alamogordo, you know, is where the first atomic bomb. I didn't know anything about that.
Right.
But we...
You went to Alamogordo?
Down there, we picked up our pilot. We picked up our engineer. Picked up 3 or 4 guys. And then Bud, myself, were the first gunners. And then the 5 of us...
Let me interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Your partner, Bud, what was his full name?
Millard Knowles.
Millard Knowles.
He was from New Jersey.
Okay.
Never saw him after. I saw his kids after the war, sometime after the war. But anyway, getting back to
Alamogordo.
I don't recall how long we were down there, maybe a month or so. I don't think, maybe longer than a month, but we were sent to Pratt, Kansas, and it was a B-29 base, relatively new, and we were picked as one of the lead crews. The lead crew meaning that in formation flying, you were the lead plane up here. You, the lead crew, and the deputy lead crew were the only ones that carried the bomb sight. So that if he
The
got
northern
shot.
bomb site.
Right.
Referring to.
So if he got shot down, this could take over. And we alternated with him. One mission he would have it. This man that got this big picture in here of the 29, subsequently after the war, sometime after the war, that was the other lead crew and so forth. But anyway,
and you have your whole crew picked by now?
little by little we added until we had 11.
Right.
And then our job, as his job was, not just the two of us, but our job was to take out aspiring pilots of B-29s who had never flown them before. So as they would bring them in, we would take them up and so forth. I'll give you a little story that we had. We took up a young man one day. Now, when I say young man, that's not right. They had to have so many hours of B-17 or B-20 or B-24 hours of flight training, so they were experienced pilots. But the build of the 29, it was so long and difficult plane to fly, and so they came in. Oh God, most of them were pretty scared, and we all had to fly, and I had to go into the tail. We came in this one day, and we had a tricycle landing here, the one here, and way back under. It was really under the fuselage. The nose of the plane stuck out so far, and it was hard to judge where the wheels were. And he came in for the first landing, and Jesus, he hit the first wheel, and he bounced us back. Oh man, he threw me around. I was in the tail. He threw me around, and boy, we bounced down the thing. I really thought the thing was going to collapse, and so pilot said, we'll have to go around again. So he went around. We went back up. He came around for the second pass. This time he got the nose too far up, and in the back we had a V-like that would compress so it wouldn't hit the tail. That's where I sat. This time he shoved the tail into the ground. And boy, it bounced this way. I thought, oh my God. So around we go again. Third time we go around. This time he comes in, I'm telling you, he couldn't have made a more beautiful landing. I was starting to get out, and he landed that thing beautifully. And we're starting down the drum, and all of a sudden, bam, I'm back on my face. I'm down on my knees, crawling out from the tail. I slammed down, hit my face on the floor. Jesus, damn. All of a sudden, smoke comes out both sides of the airplane. I thought we were on fire. And I thought, Jesus, what the hell happened? Boy, we go down. We finally stopped. Well, the sum and substance of the whole thing was, first of all, a new B-29 was, imagine what those things cost even in those days.
Right.
And it was torn up. Oh, the props went into the...
What caused it?
The, what's it called, it's collapsed, the wheels, and so forth. Well, then
the hydraulics on the wheels.
Then they look for fall guy. First of all, they interviewed our two side gunners. One of their jobs was when the wheels were put down, there was a line on which they had to show. That meant they were locked in. And of course they wouldn't know right away. Were those wheels locked in, you know, so forth. I'm sure our guy said, yeah, they're locked in. And geez, my pilot, he was a captain and he'd been in some time. As it turned out of the whole thing, it happened again on another base, and they found out that there was something wrong with I believe the hydraulic system, and so then they kept them down, non-flyable for a while, until they fixed the thing up. And oh boy, we were worried for a long time. I think I'm sure, let's see, we finished our training there. I'm not quite sure. I think it was around May or June.
Of 44.
Please?
Of 1944.
Yes. 44.
That's when D-Day happened.
No, I was home. I'd already been overseas. Oh, you're talking about in Europe. D-Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I was home for that. I came later. Anyway.
So when was it that you finished up in Alamogordo then? That's what we were just trying to get to.
Yeah, see, I have all that information on I didn't do it for this. I have it in a book. When we went up there a couple of times, it must have been around February, because I can remember brushing snow off the wings of the plane, big heavy snow in Kansas, Kansas, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been, I'm getting confused now. Could we rest a bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to take a break for a few minutes.
Yeah. This is what I've got 3 books in there.
And we're back. Hopefully World War II. I'll read this. It is my hope in placing this information in my World War II scrapbooks to assist those in the future to better understand the contents of the book. I have given up hope to revise the books myself because of my advanced age. However, some people or persons in the future will have the interest and the desire to undertake the effort to reinvent the presentation of the information contained in these pages by using modern technology. It is also my expectation that these books be kept together as one total history and retained in the possession of the same person. If for some reason this is not possible, I desire that they at least be kept in the family for use by all the family. For the record, I stated this understanding on October the 14th, 2007, and am restating it today, April the 23rd, 2021.
And this is you don't have to read this.
No.
This is a summary of everything that I've done.
Good.
So I don't have to guess names or anything on it.
And
you could take a picture of these if you want.
I will.
Okay.
With my camera.
Okay.
And as I read this now, we have left Pratt, Kansas to form a new B-29 group on September of 44. And in February of 45, you left Pratt for Mather Field in San Francisco, and then flew on a 29 to Hawaii, then to Johnson Island, on to Kwajalein, and then to our base on North Field on Guam. So, we're ending up now at Pratt, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're at now, in September of 1944 to February of 45. Is there anything else you want to talk to us about the new crew? Did you pick everybody up at Pratt?
The remaining people that we required, yes.
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 And B-29 carried 11 men.
Mm-hmm.
You had a pilot, a co-pilot, a navigator.
They called him an air commander.
Air commander.
Pilot. And then you had the bombardier. You had the engineer. You had the radio man, the navigator, the right gunner, the left gunner, the CFC gunner, and the tail gunner. And I missed the radar operator.
What about the ball turret gunner?
You
You didn't have one on B-29?
We had nobody in turrets. You didn't operate. You were in the plane itself.
Okay, but there was a belly gunner?
There was a guy that sat on each side that worked the guns below the plane.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Oh,
We called them, you know, they sat in a bubble.
yeah, yeah. But there were no such thing as turrets.
Yeah, okay.
Those were the guns. You never touched the guns.
They were operated remotely.
Rightly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A power unit, yeah. All right. Anything else you want to tell us about Pratt, Kansas? That's where you formed your crew.
I can't think of anything other than, now we did about either October or November, and I'm surprised I don't have that down here. We flew to Cuba and Puerto Rico before we went overseas.
Hmm.
And that was to get us used to flying over water and so forth. The whole group went. We only stayed down there for a few days. Came back to the base, spent the Christmas there. So we would have left, let's see.
You left there in February of 45 from Pratt.
Yeah, right, okay.
When you were, just as an aside, when you were flying that B-29, were you having many engine fires?
We had engine problems. I don't know if they were fires or not. The
Right engines?
The right engine, yes. I forget the WRIGHT.
Right.
Here in Cincinnati.
That's right.
And but in the beginning of the program, a lot of people didn't want to fly the B-29. Pilots and co-pilots.
Sure.
But it turned out to be a good plane.
Someone may not know it, but they were produced here by General Electric in Evendale, Ohio.
Yeah.
Just as a footnote. All right, I'm going to quit interrupting you now, and
Oh, that's all right.
we're going to. We're now. You decided you've got your crew put together, and you're going to be moving on in February of 45, and you're going to fly to Mather Field and start there and tell us what's going on.
We stayed apparently, let me get myself organized here. Left Pratt for Mather Field, and then on to our base in North Field of Guam. I have not gone into any of our missions, just pieces of information
Right.
so we know where we're going.
Right.
Out of Guam, we flew 23 bombing missions over Japan, and we had one oh, I can't think of the term I want. One won't come to me.
Did you ever conduct any firebombing missions?
Oh yeah, you'll run all of them. The first big one flown off of Guam was on March the 9th. That was the big one. They all talk about the 15 square miles that they burned up Tokyo.
Wasn't there one in early February too?
Not to the extent. This was deadly.
Yeah.
This was the first low-level flight.
In March the 9th.
We went in, I don't know if you know this or not, we went in not only at 5,000 to 7,000 feet for a heavy bomber, but we also went in with no ammunition to cut the weight down and so forth. And
Leave it up to Curtis LeMay.
oh boy, yeah. Ooh, he was a wild one, but he got effects, I'll say that. That must have been horrible.
Were you on it? Did you have a mission on that March the 9th?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, there were over 90,000 Japanese killed, is what I think.
I've seen figures as high as 100,000.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that was terrible. There was nothing you could see but smoke. You could smell burning flesh. Planes were so low that when we went over, you were so close to thermal drafts coming from the fires that it took some planes and turned them upside down. Really terrible thing. I guess it's sometimes when I think about the atomic bomb, I wish in a way that we didn't have to drop it, but from everything I read, the Japanese were not in any mood they intended to fight it out, and we would have tremendous amount of dead and wounded and so forth. So it's something I guess that had to be done. We I think hit most of the let's see, after our 12th, I think it was our 12th mission, 2 crews were picked from Guam, 2 crews were picked from Tinian, and 2 from Saipan, 6 crews. And we were all sent back to California. Is it in here?
No.
Don't I have that in here?
No.
Oh my gosh, I'm surprised I don't have that. Maybe I better redo that.
Go ahead.
It wasn't Mays or Fiedel, I can't think of the name of the place. And it was a base. And when we landed there,
in California?
We were flown back the 6 planes. They fully expected the war to be going on in the fall over Japan, and it's all socked in, and we were to practice radar bombing. So when we landed in California, we were in the desert, Mojave Desert, and they gave us a week's vacation, week's leave, and they said, it's up to you. If you happen to live in New Jersey, you probably can't, it won't do you any good. If somebody lives in the west side and so forth and so on. So I talked to my friend that was with me, Bud Knowles, and I said, Bud, geez, I want to get home before we go back again. We may not come back this time. And so he said, he was from New Jersey, and he said, boy, I'd like to get home too. So we went down on the flight line, and we went to board planes. We understood we're coming east and how far and so forth. And they had a strict ruling that you could not bring on strangers with your crew. They had several planes that go down. They had a problem of identifying the bodies and stuff like. They didn't know who was who, and so I went down to one particular crew, and they were getting ready to go. They were picking up their parachutes and so forth, and I asked him, and he said, I said, geez, I really like to get home. We're going back overseas again. And he said, I'm sorry, I'm just a pilot. And with this new restriction out, he won't do it. So we were sitting in the airport, and the guy came over, and he said, have you got any parachutes? And we said, no, why? He said, if you can get, each of you get a parachute, and you somehow get on the plane and we don't see you, there isn't anything we can do once we're in the air. So he pulled out to the end of the line. Boy, we went over, checked out 2 parachutes, ran down there, climbed in, and away we went. We got to, I think it was North Dakota, and this was a new, I can't remember whether it, I don't think it was a B-17, but anyways, it was a big plane, and we had other people on there, including a girl. I don't know if she was a WASP or a WAF or not, but boy, good-looking girl. And she stayed to herself, and she's the only girl on the plane. I don't know how many of us there were, not a great amount, you know, maybe 8, 9 people. And anyway, next thing I know, we're making a landing in North Dakota. So, geez, what's going on? We got I forget what they said, and I didn't know much about airplanes, but I knew enough then to know that this being a relatively new plane, this would be most unusual if this went out. And what could we say? So we landed, and we went in the back and sat, and he and his crew went and talked to the people about fixing what was wrong with the thing. So we waited a couple hours, and I don't know which one of us got up and finally went to the front and said, how's the repairs on the plane coming? And the fellow said, what do you mean the repairs on the plane? The plane we came in on, he said, well, that left. That left an hour ago. Oh, God, we were mad. I mean, we found out later, he propositioned the girl. He wanted to fly her to Chicago and spend the weekend with her. And she said, turned him down, and He took off with his crew, left us there.
Oh,
What a crummy thing to do. And he knew where most of us were from.
going back overseas.
Oh,
yeah.
we didn't know what to do then. So we waited, and the guy at the desk said, "Stay here for one more plane. It's coming in, and it's going, I know it's going through Dayton." And he said, I don't know if he'll give you a ride. But the guy gave bundles. Both of us got home. He even got to New Jersey, and we got back within a week. We took our radar bombing in the desert.
Let me stop you for a second.
Mm-hmm.
When you got this gratuitous leave, did you have a girlfriend at that time?
At home, yeah.
And who was that?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Rita Gravette, I had met her let's see, I met her in 1942, and about the time she was going with a guy, that tells me getting to, I don't mean this is personal or anything, but do you want to detract to this?
No, I'm just curious if you had a girlfriend at that time.
Yeah, eventually by that time I did, yes.
Yeah, so you met up with her when you were on your leave, and your mom and dad?
Yeah, I went to the hospital. Did I tell you that?
No. Mm-mm. Who was in the hospital?
Wait a minute, where are we now?
This is when you came back and divided the two crews, two, and two. And you were at...
well, let's talk about my going home, getting home.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got there.
The guy took me to Dayton, dropped me off. I took a bus home, called my mom, told my mom I was back from overseas, and so forth. My mom said the next day, "Let's go up and see your grandma." My grandma was dying. It's Good Sam Hospital, and we've made the visit and so forth, and I started to leave, and I must detract a bit and say there was nobody that my mother and dad liked more than my wife, who, we weren't at that point at that time, and I had gone. It was a year and a half before I got home for. Oh wait, I'm confusing.
You went up to the hospital to see your grandmother. Was it your mom's mother or your dad's mother at Good Sam?
No, wait a minute. I'm getting all confused here.
This is where you landed from a plane that you got on in North Dakota.
Yeah.
And flew to Dayton and took a bus to Cincinnati. And you only had a week.
We had, we're bouncing around too much. We had 11 missions in when we came back.
Right.
We came home. Well, at that time I was interested in my wife. That was later on. That was in late 44.
Right.
Then I came back to finish the radar bombing, and then we went back and flew another 12 missions, and so forth, to Guam.
Well, we'll come back to your wife later. You flew a total of 23 missions. Were they all over Japan?
Yeah, I flew 23 missions over bombing missions over Japan, and I flew one search mission over China.
Yeah. On those missions over Japan, do you remember the cities that were your targets?
I got them in a book. Got them all in a book and how many hours it took. A little book.
You're flying out of Guam to Japan. That's about a 15-hour flight, isn't it?
15 to 16 hours. That was every mission. It was
15 hours there and 15 back.
no, 15 total. We used to take off at light and land in dark, or vice versa. Take off in dark and land in light. But it was 3,000 miles.
Okay.
It was a long way.
Yeah.
In the beginning, we didn't have Iwo Jima, which was halfway between Guam and Japan.
Did you ever land on Iwo Jima?
I stayed on Iwo Jima for a week.
What was that occasion?
A boy, one of the gunners who was stationed on, there were only a couple of B-29s on. They didn't fly any missions. They would fly search missions and so forth. If a plane went down, they asked for a volunteer to go on. I don't know if it was a week or 2 weeks that I went on Iwo Jima. It wasn't anything of bravery or anything. The kid's father had died, and they were going to let him go home, and they needed another gunner to replace him. And I had never seen Iwo Jima. None of our people had, and I wanted to see it. So I volunteered to go, and I didn't fly any missions from there. In fact, I don't even think I flew off of there. But anyway, I stayed a week or two, and then I came back and so forth. But
were you, when you were on these 23 missions over Japan, were you without ammunition on all of them?
No. Just that one. We had ammunition on everything else.
And what altitude did you fly most of the missions over Japan?
The first couple, about 22,000, and they weren't satisfied with the results they were getting, so they decided to try and fly in at 5 to 7. They thought he was nuts. I mean, this is a heavy bomber, super bomber, and it's supposed to go in from 20 to 25,000. But he was right. I mean, boy, when they flew that first low-level mission over Japan, over Tokyo, oh man, today, 15 square miles. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's just think of that. I was told that the heat got so bad that people that attempted to jump into the canals and that, the water was boiling. That's how hot it was.
Terrible time.
Oh, terrible. Gee, you see some of the scars that people had. Oh, God.
Did you have any casualties on board your ship?
Just a slight one. Our radar operator, who sat in the mid-plane, plane was going this way, let's say.
Right.
He sat over on this side and running the radar, and we got hit by flak and came through behind him and smashed into his board, broke all his glass, and just kind of in the shoulder, and you know, nothing more was a major bleeding or anything like that. He didn't even want to turn it in for a.
Purple Heart?
Yeah, they said, the hell, you're wounded. I mean, so, but we got hit bad sometime, but we were lucky. We didn't. That was the only injury we got.
Did you ever encounter any Japanese fighter planes attacking you?
Closest we came, people, I think, though the average person doesn't at all, we got no, by the time we got there, of course, Saipan and Tinian had been on bombing runs maybe 2-3 months. I think they started in December. So they learned a lot of things that were helpful to us. But boy, I'm getting old.
Well, we were talking about if you encountered any fighter planes.
Yeah, it didn't take the Japs long to find out that when we would go to bomb a place, instead of coming south directly north and dropping the bombs, we would go alongside, go past the target, go up, pick up a headwind up there, and by the time we're coming down here, we're probably doing 350. I mean, by the time they would attack us from the rear and catch up to us, we would wipe them out. So I never even got to fire a gun hardly back there. Everything was front and down.
Okay.
So this one day, we were getting a lot of, it was bad. I'd have to look in my book. And anyway, I could hear the bombardier and the central fire control gunner, the top gunner, he's coming at us straight ahead, and it was head-on flight. And to us, we were in like this, and of course I can't see anything. I'm riding backwards, and all of a sudden there was a tremendous explosion outside my right window. I mean, just nothing but flame. And my first thought was, oh, we shot down a fighter plane. And then I looked back out, and I thought, where was the 29 information that was there? And I looked over the side, and he was upside down, and he's going down like this. I saw no parachutes come out, and so forth, and so naturally I got back right away. Well, then I knew that it was the fighter plane that had exploded. I got back. I was told later that 2 guys got out of the 29. I didn't see any parachutes or anything, and I had the best luck. You know, although boy, you get out of there in a hurry when you're moving this way and so forth. So that's the closest we came to being shot down by a guy. Now, when I talked to the top gunner, the central fire control gunner, I asked him how did he miss us, and he said he was coming right at us, and the fire plane, and he peeled. He didn't know why. He said it almost looked like he lost control of, and he took the wing right off. That's the explosion I saw. Took the wing off the B-29.
Oh, he actually hit it.
Oh yeah, and that was him blowing up, and they went down.
Was that a kamikaze plane?
I
Or just a
never thought of
mechanical
it.
error?
No, I don't think so. I never heard anybody express that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean now, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
When they separated you guys and took 2 crews from each island, you were going to fly radar missions
Yeah, it was all socked in, you know.
over Japan to guide the bombers.
Yeah, yeah.
Were you carrying any ammunition or bombs on those missions when you were just radar?
We never did fly them.
Oh, you never flew them?
The war ended before we flew them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think you told us once that you flew over China locating POW camps.
Yeah.
When did you do that?
I don't know why we were picked as we were the only crew.
You were the only crew?
We were the only crew that went over. In a way, I have some misgivings about that. I really enjoyed that experience, but in turn, I did not get to fly over the Missouri when the peace thing was signed. They sent all the 29s up and so forth, flew over the ship, and we didn't get to do that.
Is that because you were looking for POW camps or what?
Yeah, we were up there, but anyway, I have no idea how we were picked, and we flew up to Okinawa, and most of the fighting was over at that time, and the next morning we flew over to Shanghai, and the big question, our pilot was, boy, I tell you, he was, what a, we would say that he could put a cream puff on the floor and land on it and not put a dent in it. Oh, he was, looked like Jimmy Stewart, kind of hunched over, oh, could he fly, and very conservative. Anyway, Jesus. He's not gonna, when we get over Shanghai, he's not, we're supposed to fly very low so we can spot these 11 prisoner of war camps. And we had to, and they were in hotels and places like this. And so we didn't know what to expect. Anyway, we left there, and so we went down, got to Shanghai, and of course, again, I'm riding backwards. And we come in over the town, and he kind of didn't come over the town directly the first time, and then he come back, and then, oh boy, did he surprise us. He went down, I'm telling you, he was, I swear we were looking at buildings level. Especially, I got the best luck of anybody, once we went by him. And God, you should have seen the panic. People come running out of stores, the traffic, people jumped out of cars. Oh my God, people ran in stores.
How low were you?
Oh, I'm telling you, I looked out there and I saw some big buildings over from us, look level to me. And as I say, I always got the best. Boy, and we did that for, I don't know how many hours. We had 11 buildings to find.
Identify it.
And then we went from, after we discovered the 10 there, we flew, I believe it was about 80 to 100 miles south to Hangzhou.
Right.
And there was a woman's prisoner of war camp there. It was in a high-rise building, and how in the hell they got wind of that, I don't know. But my God, we got down there, and oh boy, he flew really low over their building. They came running out the top of the building. It was a flat top. And oh my God, they were waving bed sheets at us and stuff. And to carry that through maybe a little bit more, the next day, not the next day, we didn't go back to the following day. But anyway, when we got back, they sent up, I don't recall how many B-29s, and they parachuted supplies down to all of them. Here's a kind of a side note. My sister went to Mount St. Joe College over here, Mount St. Joe University right now. But anyway, Mom became active because of my sister, and eventually became the head of the Women's Society for college students. And I think they used to meet once a month, as I recall. And Mom, I don't know if they called her ahead of time, or anyway, they left her know that there were 3 Chinese nuns coming from the charity nuns in China, in Shanghai, and they were coming for lunch, and she introduced them and things like that. And so the mom asked them, the one lady was in charge, and she said, would you like to address the crowd? And she said yes, she would. She spoke English. And so she got up and she spoke, and she said, I don't know how they got on World War II. And she said, you know, in World War II, the 3 of us were in a prisoner of war camp in China. And she said, one day, she said, a great big bomber came over and flew over the top of us for a couple of, and my mom couldn't wait till after. Oh, she said my son was on that plane.
Oh my goodness. Did you ever land in Japan or China?
No, I came awful close, but I wanted to go home, and I was getting interested in my wife, not to the point of getting married or anything, but I just wanted to get home. I'd been gone 3 years, and it'd been a long time since I'd been home. What did you ask me?
If you'd ever landed there, but you wanted to go.
No. They offered any of us, and offered an agreement that we could go and transfer to Japan. I forget where, and I could duty up there for 6 months, and I was concerned suddenly the 6 months would become a year, you know, and so forth, and I thought, you better get on a home, boy.
Well, you had your 23 missions in it,
Yeah,
and that's enough.
yeah, and I didn't want, but I would have loved to have seen the place, although it must have been terrible to see.
What was your pilot's name on your plane?
My what?
Your pilot, your command, the aircraft commander?
Oh, for crying out loud! Any other time you ask me that, I know. Captain, no, it was a major by the time. Major, oh God. We named the plane.
What was the name of the plane? That was my next one.
Let me see.
There's nothing in there.
There's nothing in there on that. Let me think a minute. Douglas, Captain Douglas. We called him Doug. What was his first name?
And what was the name of the plane?
They all had to be named by that time after cities. The mothers got up in arms. They didn't want any more nude women
Right.
on the front of the planes. So we had to call it a city. So obviously we were going to call it the pilots where he was from. He was in California. Oh, for crying. I come up like these things.
It's all right, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
I'm long from being finished with you today.
Right into wine country.
Lady, well, that's north of San Francisco, but we'll come to it.
Okay.
You mentioned you were interested in getting back to your future wife. What was your wife's name again?
Rita Cravat. G-R-A-V.
No, your wife.
Yeah. Rita Cravat.
I thought it was. Oh, that's right, Rita Gravette. Your mother's name was Gilligan.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
Excuse me for that.
No, that's all right.
Rita Gravette, and how do you spell that?
Gravett.
How did you meet Rita Gravette?
I broke up with a girl who I thought I loved dearly. I was a freshman in college, and we broke up. And I don't think it was me. I think it was her. Oh, she broke my heart, and I didn't even know Rita. I knew who she was, but she didn't live in the parish that we lived or anything. And I was scheduled to go to a dance up at Xavier University in my sophomore year, starting my sophomore year. It was outside, and I didn't have any date, and I went down to a local church, St. William's Church, and they had a big fall festival, and I was down. I don't know why I was down there by myself, and I guess everybody else had a date maybe, but anyway, I met a girl I knew well, and we got talking, and I don't know how we got talking about it. I guess she knew the girl I went with, and I told her we had split up, and I said, I'm supposed to go to a dance tomorrow night up at X, and I don't have a date. And I said, do you know anybody I can take? And she said, well, God, there's a lot of them down here at this festival. Let me think. So she named some girls. None of them had me. And then she mentioned Rita's name. And I said, again, I can't think of her name. I said, I don't know her, but I said, I know of her. And I said, she's a pretty girl. And she said, she's here tonight. And she said, would you want me to introduce you to her? She can't do no more than say no. I said, oh my God, it's tomorrow night. And so I said, yeah, why don't you call her? And so she, now, I never did know whether she knew that Rita had just broken up with the guy she went with. She was getting kind of serious with the guy, and I didn't know her, didn't know him. Anyway, she brought her over, and we talked, and the girl that was introducing it, I don't know whether she took a walk. Anyway, she said, Neff wants to ask you something, and I'll be back after a while. So she asked me, and she said, I'm really not doing anything tomorrow night. And so I said, I'd like for you to go. So anyway, she went. Well, oh, what an ass I made of myself. This is in a home movie where I tell people this. We went up here. She was just graduating as a junior in high school. She was at a place where she knew nobody on the far side of town. All she knew was me. I don't know how long we were there, but one of my buddies comes over and tells me on the side, we're going up, I can't think of the place we used to hang out on Gunnery Road. We're going up and get a couple of drinks, you want to go with us? And I go with him. And I leave her sit there by herself. Oh boy. We went up and had a couple of drinks, and I was feeling no pain, you know. And I wasn't drunk, but I mean, everything was rosy, you know. And I came back, and you know, my God, why naturally she's going to be happy to see me, you know, and all that male stuff, and I don't. She never said much, and so forth. Went home. I can't believe I was that dumb. Well, it goes without saying I had hell to get another date. And finally I worked myself back in. It wasn't serious or anything until I was called into the Army. Then I was starting to get, and I think she was too, and I went off to the Army. I didn't come home for a year and a half. And that's when I went to the hospital to see my grandma, who was dying, and my mother. When I started to leave the hospital, my mother said, "Where are you going?" And I said, well, I mean, we're finished. No, we're not finished. Aren't you going to see Rita? My wife had gone into nurses training. She was studying to be an RN. And I said, Mom, I haven't been home for a year and a half. I said, we've quit writing. She's busy here, I guess, and I'm busy. It's not just a lack of interest. I mean, I guess I didn't know her long enough before you stay here. And my mom was not like that. She went and got the woman in charge of nursing, and she went and got the head nun, my mother gave him this. It was a true tale, though. It wasn't. Told him that I was home for a little first time I was home in 15 months. That I dated Rita, and we had stopped writing, and I was only going to be home a week, and I was going back, and then overseas, and boy, next thing I knew, I see, as I described in one of my things, I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this vision in white coming down the hall. And I thought, gee, Manee, boy, get busy, man. What have you been doing this year and a half, you know? She had me buffaloed. She wasn't a very quiet girl, but she was stuck to the campus. They had to be in at 7 o'clock at night. So the only thing we could do is go across the street to Burnett Woods and walk. And I was bashful and so forth, but I went right away. Well, then we started to get, it was funny, I'll cut it short. When I came home on Thanksgiving Day 45, went to, where did I go? Fort Benjamin, Harrison. That would be the last one on the sheet.
Yeah, you were discharged Thanksgiving
Yeah,
45.
Thanksgiving
Fort
Day.
Benjamin, Harrison, in Indianapolis.
They brought Rita up with me. My mom and dad were nuts about Rita. And, well, for some reason, I had the opinion that she was getting kind of serious. And as much as I liked her, I didn't, I'd been tied up for 3 years, and I didn't want to get tied up. And so well, I don't know how many months after that, then she came to me one time. Oh boy. And in essence, she said, I want to make a change. And I said, what do you want to do? She didn't want to go out with just me. She wanted to go out with other boys. Oh boy. And then all of a sudden, I said to myself, uh-oh, it's these doctors she's been running around with while I'm gone. And I don't know if it was that night or we came back, and I said, that's not going to be for me. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I don't want. I mean, you either go with me or you don't go with anybody. Or you go with other people, you don't go with me. And so she said she was sorry that she wanted to go with other people. So I said, well, if you change your mind, you can give me a call. And I went into law school, and she went into full-time RN, and we were both busy. She, in the meantime, she moved to within about 8, 9 houses of me, from St. Williams Parish all the way to St. Teresa. But I never saw her once. And so I don't know if I went with other girls. I don't remember. I was so busy, it seemed, at the time, that between there and working in the law library to make tuition and so forth. But anyhow, I was playing basketball one day. About 3 doors down, they had a basketball court, and the kid that lived there, and there were other kids, we were playing a game, and I look up and I see my mom coming as best she can through the back screen, and I said to the guys, hold up a minute. So I went over and I said, what's the matter, Mom? I thought there was something wrong, and she said, Rita's on the line. Rita's on the line. And I said, Mom, I can't leave this basketball game. We're right in the midst of the. You come back and talk to Rita. Boy, she didn't make any moves about it. I said, okay, so I told her I gotta go. My mom wants me to talk to somebody I know. So I called her, and in essence, she said, I think she didn't know, things had gotten pretty cool, and but I think she said that, you know, you said what, I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't said it, but she said you said that if I ever wanted to start going to with you, I should give you a call. And she said, that's what I'm doing. Anyway, she invited me to go to dinner. And oh my God, did she cook. That's another story. She was young when her mother died, and her father was around, was out of town the whole week. So she not only 15-year-old girl worked, she did the cooking, the cleanings. I mean, she did everything and so forth. But anyway, we got to talk, and we sat and like a dummy, I almost said, I'll think about it, and I thought, why do that? I mean, she's allowed to tell me, you know, stick it in your face. Right. And so I said, well, that's fine. Let's start schooling again. And I think I left a piece out in there. Oh no, that's right. And so then and Easter then, that was in January. In Easter, I gave her a ring, and I don't know, we gave in, it's in May I think May we married. But all that
What year?
1947, yeah.
Where'd you get married at?
St. Teresa. Let's see. Rita lived in a second door flat. Her dad was a freight agent for the railroad, and he would come home at Friday night, Saturday night. He and his wife and tried to get some. They had 4 kids. He would leave on a Sunday night. Her mother died when she was 15 years old, which means that, I mean, God, she had no car. They had no car to get groceries, and I tell you, I could. My wife, she's the most wonderful person I ever met.
She took care of the whole family then.
Yeah. She had 2 brothers that were both brother than her, 2 years older than me, and her youngest brother was about, I guess, probably about 13 and so forth. But it was kind of a salty, Patrick. I'm making more sense. Can we stop for a while?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're back from our break and continuing with Bud Kneflin. Bud, so you and your wife got married, and you got married in May of 1946.
Did I say May?
Yes.
No, September, I'm sorry.
I thought, I'm probably wrong.
No, I was wrong.
September of
September 20th, 1947.
1947 at St. Teresa's.
St. Teresa.
Yeah. And how many children did you have?
I have 4.
And what were their names?
Mike, Mark, Kathy, Tom.
Tom. And they all live here in Cincinnati now? And what did you do for a living?
We have a insurance agency that probably have had, I would say in the 60s that we've had I started the agency many years ago, in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Not the 60s, that's how long we've had it.
Yeah, since the 1960s.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's 2021 now.
Yeah.
So it's quite successful, and they still run the company, your sons?
Mark, the second one, the oldest, Mike, is retired. Mark bought out Mike, and in turn we merged with 2 other agencies under the name of Kneflin
Dill something?
Farm Family. Isn't that awful? Could you stop it? Oh my gosh.
I thought I had a card here, but it doesn't look like I did. Oh, no.
Kneflin,
They
here it is. Kneflin Hills, Kneflin, Dillhoff, Hills, and Cruzy.
Okay.
That's it.
Definitely Dillhoff.
Kneflin, Dillhoff, Hills, and Cruzy.
Cruzy. And they're still in business today in 2021.
Right, right. Yeah, we have been downtown. We opened our own agency. We had our own building on Glenway Avenue. But we moved, I would think that we've been down close to 30 years now in downtown with the other 2 agencies.
In downtown Cincinnati.
Right.
Did Rita have, was she employed after you got married?
Very, very slight time. I did not want her to work after we were married. We had 4 children. I felt that was a full-time job, and in a way, she never had the opportunity to use her education as an RN.
Right.
And regret that in many ways, but I never did have her work on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about her mom and dad.
I never knew her mother. Her mother died before I knew her. Her dad I know well.
And his name?
Thomas Gravett. Good man, good man. He was non-Catholic in religion. Everybody else was in the Roman Catholic religion. He was non-Catholic. He was the most wonderful man to have around. Very, very fortunate to have a man like him for a father-in-law.
And he was a railroad man?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me, on your mother and dad's side, did you know your mother's parents, your grandparents?
Yes, very much.
And what were their names?
Mom and Dad were Gilligans. My grandfather was a Gilligan, and my My grandma was, oh, jeepers. I can't come
You're
up.
not getting old, are you?
No, geez, I'm way past that. Corrigan and, what the heck was my grandma's name? Isn't that something? Oh, she would be very disappointed in me.
What were their names?
They called him Mac. He was a big league umpire.
Oh yeah?
He had a couple of games where he worked the opening game on the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh.
But primarily he was I can't think of what I want to say. Why in the heck can I come up with, my uncle played semi-pro baseball in the KIO League, but I can't think of anybody else. Why can't I come up with my mother, my grandma?
Well, she'll come to you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your mom and dad.
Uh,
Did you know your mother's father?
my mother's father.
And mother. Your grandparents on your mom's side.
That's what we were just talking about.
Oh, I thought that was Rita's mom and dad.
Oh.
Or maybe I got confused there. Rita's mom and dad, let's talk about them.
I don't know.
You didn't know her because she was dead.
I've never met
He
her.
worked for the railroad.
Right.
Your dad
No, we
worked
jumped.
at Lunkenheimer,
Right.
and your grandfather had been an umpire at opening games for the Reds.
Well, we're jumping back and forth on different families.
Yeah.
Let's.
What was his name? Your grandfather that was the umpire.
Okay, he was. I can't remember what his first name was anymore. He and my grandma. They lived down in. They were the Gilligans. They were my mother's. Parents. They were my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Gilligans. My mother and dad, my dad and my grandma, my grandpa and my grandma were born in France.
Okay.
My dad, my uncle and my aunt were born in France in Belfort, Belfort.
Belfort.
They came over when they were, I believe that my dad was about 10 or 11 years old. My uncle a little bit older, and then my aunt. And they lived in Cincinnati from that point on. My grandfather, again, was a tool maker. My dad was a pattern maker.
At Lunkenheimer.
Right. And my grandfather was a tool maker. Worked for, some of these I can't come up with. I forget who was it, what my grandpa, who he worked for. Been a household word on Spring Grove Avenue.
R.K. LeBon.
No? I can't think of the name of it.
William Powell Valve.
Right,
Yeah.
That's it. Yep. Yeah. Right on the button.
Right. I see. Now, other relatives that served in the war, you said something about you someone was in a foreign service or?
Well, I'll start with the oldest, who I know nothing about, my great-grandfather, and I don't know how that all fits in. I'll give you a piece when we leave. He fought in the Dutch East Indies as a soldier of fortune. That was his job. I know nothing about him. I know of him or anything and so forth. I believe that my grandfather, now whether that was his father, I don't know, but my grandfather was born in Alsace-Lorraine. When it came time for him to join the Grandpa would have been taken. It was after the Franco-Prussian War.
That's 1870.
That the Germany had won, and I think he was 16 or 17, and it was time for him to go off and join the German army. And being a French man, that would have killed him to go in the German army. So he went to Paris, and he went to the recruiting office and asked to be permitted to join the French army, and the French man said, well, we can't do that. By the treaty, you have to serve in the German army. And my dad said, my grandpa said I couldn't do that, being a Frenchman. And he said, you really want to get into the service? And my grandpa said, yeah. He said, you go down the street, there's a recruiting office, and you join that service down there. So my grandpa joined, and he found out that he had joined the French Foreign Legion, and he was shipped off to the Sahara Desert. And I don't know how many years he served there. Ultimately, I don't know whether how ultimately he got to let's see, where Dad and Mom, where did I say my dad was born?
He was born in France.
And anyway, their kids, which included my dad, uncle, and my aunt, were born in Balfour. Somewhere along the line, somebody from the French family came to Covington and settled here. My grandmother, grandfather, and my mother eventually decided to move to the United States, and they came here. And as I said, I think that my dad my dad was born about 15, 16 years, no, 10, 11 years old, and my aunt and my uncle and so forth. They moved to Covington. Eventually they moved to someplace in Cincinnati, and eventually to Northside, and that's where they grew up, and eventually until World War I broke out, and my uncle joined the Army. My dad flunked the exam, sounds like me, and he ended up in the Navy. He flew what did the, I can't think of what the Navy did. They,
This is World War I?
yeah, Dad was on a destroyer, and back and forth, took people back and forth into England and so forth. My running, my soldier, ended up winning the
Croix de Guerre?
not the Croix de Guerre, the Silver Cross and the
That was an Army medal, wasn't it?
yeah, geez, I'm sorry, but I'm running out of information. But anyway, he did quite a thing, quite an honor.
Won in a Silver Star, certainly.
Yep, Silver Star.
Yeah.
That's what he won. Yeah. You know more about it than I do.
No. Let's go back to your time flying the B-29s. You had told me something about you had to gather a formation and to take off on a mission. In other words, one plane would go up and he would fly around up there for a while the rest of the planes are flying up until you all got into a formation. How many planes were normally in a formation, would you say? You got your lead plane and the second lead plane here with the bomb sights.
4, 8, 11.
11?
3 here, and then 4 here, and 4 over here.
Okay.
11 planes.
And 2 planes are carrying the Norden bomb sight.
Right.
Now, you also told me that on occasion, somebody had to put out a phosphorus flare. What was the purpose of that?
We would, when we finally got settled on where we were going to meet, usually we would fly to, at that time, right in the beginning, we did not have control of Iwo Jima.
Right.
Off of Iwo Jima, while they were still working, we would, each lead crew would fly off and have, let's say this group would have an orange flare. This one would have a red flare, and so forth and down the line. He would get off. Let's make us the lead crew. We would take off, and everybody had their space. We would make her fly way out there and go and we would shoot out a flare. We'd shoot our orange flare out. It would
Trail behind you?
We would keep going in flares behind, and the rest of our crew would still fly until we got the 11 planes together.
And they would know where you were, where their group was.
They'd look for
by
us.
that color flare. Yeah. And then you would line up and go on your mission.
Right, exactly. Now,
There was an occasion of a plane in front of you, wasn't there? It was horrendous. Henry Red Irwin?
Red Irwin, yeah. Red, geez, I'm getting, forget what all about the message. Red, that wasn't his last name, was it?
I thought it was Irwin. What'd you call him?
Red.
Red?
Yeah, that's all we called him. Right. Oh, I should have brought that thing with me. Anyway, what happened to him is he was the lead crew on that mission. They were the one in front. He went out, it was his job to send out in the bottom, there was a place, trapdoor like, and he would shoot that out, the flare out. It would spew out, they would go around, and the planes would keep going around until they got their 11 planes together. When he went and put I never saw one of these flares, when he went and put the flare down in the door, it backfired. Came up at him. He ended up standing over the thing with in his hands. Imagine, this is a phosphorus bomb. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Phosphorus fire.
He got on his knees, they tell me. He held this thing at his
Chest.
He had to get from here, where the trapdoor was, he had to get over here, the navigator was here, he had to get past him up to the pilot, the cockpit filled with smoke. He lost his balance, put his hand on the navigator's table, and left his whole print on there. Just peeled his skin. Oh, that must have been horrible. And he got up to the table, got up to the window, and when he got to the window, the pilot opened the thing, and he threw the thing out, and he collapsed. Yeah. They immediately broke formation. They came back to...
and it actually burned his ear off, hadn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was terrible.
And it blinded him also, didn't it?
Please?
He was blind also.
It affected his eyes. I don't know how bad. I never did talk to him about it. In fact, I never had a chance. He came to a couple of our
reunions.
Oh, that was way after the war was over, and then we met commonly for several more years. I guess I excuse me, went on 3 or 4 of them, but they immediately turned around and came back to Guam, put him in a hospital, immediately made, all they could do was fly him to Hawaii, and eventually, I think, out of there, back to the States. And it was him.
He actually saved that whole crew because if he hadn't disposed of that phosphorus, it could have burned a hole right through the plane and crashed. Or
an amazing thing!
The smoke.
An amazing thing that he even lived. My God, I don't know how. I would think the shock of it alone. I've seen pictures of him, and oh my God, what a terrible thing. But
they said that I read a report about him, and they were still taking a little piece of phosphorus out of his eyes, And as soon as they did, it burst into flame. As soon as the phosphorus hit oxygen, it burst into flame. He was put in for a Medal of Honor and received it.
Yeah, only one in the only between.
We never mentioned the Air Force you were in, the wing you were in, the group you were in, and your squadron.
I was in the 52nd Squadron,
Of the 29th?
29th Bomb Group, 314th Wing, 20th Air Force.
Good, good. And now was Curtis LeMay in charge of everything?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was a big ace over in England.
Yes.
Came over. Colonel Carl Story was in charge of our group, the 29th Bomb Group. He eventually was put in charge of he was in charge of the 314th Wing, and what was the other one? Carl.
Curtis LeMay.
He was in charge of the whole wing,
Right.
314th Wing. It was his idea flying low level. Oh, that was, oof. Yeah, quite a change.
That had to be pretty hairy though, flying in there with no ammunition and only delivering bombs on a couple of missions, right?
Yeah, I sometimes look back on things and I think sometimes you're so naive on some things that can I talk about a tactic of the Japanese Air Force?
Yeah.
These were all new to us. What's your call it? He's going through this. When we flew night missions, of course, we flew individual planes. We didn't fly in formation. Every plane flew by itself.
Oh.
And there was too much chance of flying together, you know. And so I would sit back in the tail, and after a mission or so, might have been the first mission, I don't know, and all of a sudden I became conscious that there was something moving outside the rear of my plane. And so I watched this thing, and you know, there were clouds, there were stars, and I thought, nah, that looks like something moving. So I called into the pilot, and I said, Doug, I think there's a plane behind us. It's hard to make out, but it looks to me like it's a plane. I don't know quite all the events that followed, but the next time we went on a night mission, and I was sure. I said, there's a plane following us, and so forth. I don't remember whether they left or what, but all of a sudden not us, but another plane on a night mission, we find out that what is happening here is our plane going this. We'll say that this is going this way. Here's a Jap plane out here to my right. I'm riding backwards to my right. In plain sight, we're starting to see. We see planes turning lights on and off. Looks like the guy's giving himself away. What we don't know is there's another Jap plane sitting over here, totally black. They shoot this fighter plane down. They're glad to trade a fighter plane for a fighter plane over here. He shoots the 29 down. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. This guy was spotting and flashing his light to let him know.
He's giving himself up and so forth. So it didn't take us long. So I used to, God, that thing had come across. I'd sit back there and that damn thing, boy, oh Jesus, God damn it, thing is right there, but you know, you never got a shot at him. Not once.
What was your pilot's last name?
Doug, oh gosh. I know every one of these guys. I can't even think of their names. Can you imagine that?
Did you go to many reunions?
I went to every one. Well, I did not discover them right away. I was out. This was well after the war, and somehow they started 29th Bomb, just our bomb group, 29th Bomb Group, and I was out one day, and I don't know where I was, someplace, and I had the radio on, and this guy got on the radio, and I realized that he's the guy's talking about B-29s, and here I find out the guy's talking about B-29s, and he's talking about our group, B-29. First time I heard Owen, ages. Oh my God, I thought, I wanted to find out about this. And I got the where I could get in touch with him. And I had made some contact with a few of the guys and so forth. And I called our navigator who lived in the east, and I told him what I had found out, and I said, boy, if we could find that out, we might be able to find some of the other guys. And I followed up on the thing. I found out where the next, I forget where it was going to be, some city or time, and little by little we started to find a few more guys, and I don't think we ever found out more than about 4 or 5 of the guys. One in California, 2 in Connecticut, outside of Hartford, 1 in Philadelphia, me. I think the only we ever found was 5 or 6. I had years before that a visit from our co-pilot, came through Cincinnati one time. You know what he was, our co-pilot? He was a what'd they call him? Sex? He was a sex. It was his job to find out the difference between the male chickens and males and females, the difference, was his job to I think all he had to go where they had this big naturally born. He had to pick out all the females. That's what they were. That's what they picked out of that's what his job was. And he came and visited us. Rita and I were still at her dad. We lived with her dad for a year. Last time I saw him, The first and only time I ever saw him. Never got to see was it the same time as our pilot,
Go ahead.
oh, okay,
Go ahead.
was it the same by pilot, the same time what he was later on, didn't know he was there. And by the time I could get back to him, he died. I never did see him. So really a shame for it.
Let me write that down again. You were the 52nd Squadron?
Yeah. Here's one right on one of these.
Squadron, and the
29th Bomb Group.
bomb group.
Three Bomb Group. 314th,
Wing.
14 Wing, 20th Air Force.
You were on North Field. North Field is where Paul Tibbets was with the Enola Gay, wasn't it?
He was a different island, an island. He was not exactly, he was over from we didn't even know about them at that time. But he never was exactly where we were. So I never did see him. Is he still alive?
No, he's gone now.
Oh, okay.
Were you familiar with the 9th Bomb Group?
No, let's see, the other guys in our wing were there was the 19th, the 29th, the 39th, I think there was one more. I don't know how many were in a wing. I'm not sure of that.
And your insignia on the back of your plane was a 0.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. We were.
I got a plane out there.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Got a Z on it though.
Yeah, right.
But that's still the same.
Air Source is in here. A big plane is on there. That's the other guy that flew lead plane the same as we did. That's a big picture in there.
How many hours did you have in the plane flying? On 23 missions, right?
Well, we figured 15
hours.
15 times 23.
Yeah.
That's just missions I'm giving you.
Right.
1523.
Yeah.
I can.
No, that's.
I got to what's going there and give you a fast mission.
They're 15 hours each.
That was about average, I think.
Did you have any entertainment when you were on Tinian, like Bob Hope and that group, or anybody coming around?
Let's see, where did we have?
Hollywood movie stars or the like?
Yeah, we had. I had some big in Palm Beach. We had Hope and all them down there. I'm trying to. We had baseball teams that played. I don't recall that we had some groups of women and that on that I can recall when we were in Guam. I don't recall. I don't think so.
When you were on Tinian Island, did you have any trouble at all with Japanese soldiers?
No. I was trying to remember if we had any prisoner of wars on. I don't even remember if we had. They probably had. I would think they had prisoner of wars on when I was on.
Iwo Jima?
Iwo Jima.
Yeah.
I would think so there, but I don't recall. I saw German prisoners when I was on German prisoners when I was still at Fort Bragg. That was a big war case.
Yeah.
But I don't know about on Iwo Jima.
You were there about a week, right?
Week or two. I don't remember how long.
What was your purpose there?
To fill in for another gunner. He went home to his father died.
Oh.
And they left him to go home for the funeral. And they needed somebody on Iwo Jima. They had 2 crews there, and so I joined one prison or one camp. I don't recall again whether we stayed longer than a year.
A week.
Yeah, I don't even know if I got off the ground there.
Did you saw Mount Sargent with the flag flying?
Mm-hmm.
Was it? How did you? What did you think of the island? Iwo Jima.
I would probably have thought it was a lot rougher setup than what we were on in Guam and so forth. I don't know too much. I don't remember too much about it. I don't know how we passed the neighbor. Never maintained any contact with any of the guys of the crew that I filled in for, but I didn't maintain any conflict or any contact with them when I left there.
Well, it was a godsend for a lot of airmen who were badly damaged.
It was a godsend for us, yeah, sure was.
They would have never made it back to Guam or Tinian.
We were lucky to, that was a godsend when they finally took over the island, Iwo Jima. That was a godsend.
Yeah. Where were you at when you found out about the atomic bomb? And did you really know what it was?
I'm trying to remember, and again, I'd have to get my book out there, whether it was our last mission, if we flew any standard mission after
The second bomb?
yeah, whether we flew any after that or not, I don't know without checking in there and so forth.
Well, I think we've about reached the end of our interview, and I want to tell you it's been a great interview.
I wish I could have done a better job.
You've done a wonderful job.
No, I'm not trying to be. It's just, I mean, I rip off those things and I forget names. I didn't think I would have any trouble with that at all. Jimmy, forgetting some of the names. I've had different people in the past tell me, boy, You amaze me that you remember all those names.
You still amaze me.
And here I am missing all these.
You haven't missed too much. It's all come to you.
I thank you for your time spent.
Well,
I can't think of anything else. Did you want to look at any of that junk in there, or?
I'm going to look at those in a minute, but
Okay.
at this point, I want to thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
Mostly,
Yeah.
from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for the service that you rendered to our country and your patriotism. And without guys like you, our country wouldn't be the same it is.
Well,
Thank you again.
I appreciate your kindness, and I mostly sat there.